the buried archive, the Pursue files. The question: what does the structure of this release reveal about what the government actually knows? You are looking at a government archive that went live on May 8, 2026. It contains 226 files, videos, PDFs, photographs, audio recordings. The files span 82 years, from 1944 to 2026. The government called it unprecedented transparency. The NSA had fought one part of this release for 46 years. That detail, a 46-year fight against releasing the files, is where this investigation begins. Not what the government found, how it handled what it found. Because one of the first things the archive reveals is a framing problem. Here is what the official record says this release contains. Release 1, 162 files, 120 PDF documents, 28 videos, 14 images. Release 2, 64 files, 51 videos, 7 audio recordings, 6 PDF documents. The archive received 340 million hits in its first 12 hours. Defense Secretary Hegseth described the files as hidden behind classifications. That phrase is not a boast. It is an admission. The official account says, unresolved cases, no evidence of extraterrestrial technology. The former director of the Pentagon's own UAP investigation office responded immediately. Sean Kirkpatrick ran AARO, the Pentagon's UAP investigation office, until 2023. His statement, attributed to ABC News, May 8, 2026. The man who ran the official investigation said the release lacked analysis and context. That gap between the framing of the release and the analysis of its contents is the investigation. Let's begin with the part of this disclosure that received the least coverage. 10 days after Pursue launched, a separate disclosure occurred. The National Security Agency released 334 pages of formerly classified UAP records. Top Secret Umbra was the NSA's most sensitive signals intelligence classification. It designated information whose unauthorized disclosure could cause exceptionally grave national security damage. The NSA retired the Umbra code word in 1999, 27 years ago. The records were classified at the highest level. Then the classification level was retired. The records stayed classified. The Disclosure Foundation filed a Freedom of Information Act request for these records. The NSA denied the request in its entirety. The Disclosure Foundation appealed. The NSA's own appeal authority said the denial was improper. Despite the release, the NSA still asserts redactions on records from the 1960s. Records from 6 decades ago, still redacted. The code word protecting them retired 27 years ago. The question is not what the redacted sections contain. The question is why they are still redacted. What UAP-related information did the NSA collect through signals intelligence? And what was it tracking? The NSA is the agency that monitors signals intelligence, not the agency that responds to visual sightings. If signals intelligence systems detected UAP, what signal did they detect, and from what? Now look at the evidence quality problem that runs through the entire release. Start with the video evidence. In Release 2, AARO flagged a chain of custody problem. Some videos were uploaded to a classified network by an unidentified user, years after the incident. The video the archive labels Syrian UAP Instant Acceleration AARO's own description does not say that. The acceleration in the title is the sensor losing track of the object, not confirmed object behavior. Now look at what the archive does not contain. 1974 to 1984, the peak of Cold War signals intelligence capability. No files. 2005 to 2012, the post-9/11 intelligence expansion, unprecedented surveillance capacity. No files. The gap explanation has two possibilities, and neither closes the question. The DOW has not explained the gaps. The archive does not explain the gaps. Now the FBI redaction problem. This one is methodological. AARO is the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the official UAP investigation body. In 2025, an FBI field office collected an image of an unidentified phenomenon. Before submitting the image to AARO for investigation, the FBI redacted it. The investigation office received an incomplete version of the image it was supposed to investigate. AARO's stated mission is to detect, identify, and resolve UAP. It was given a pre-edited version of the evidence. We have now documented 4 structural problems in the archive itself. The investigation has not yet looked at what the files actually contain. Because the structural problems don't resolve the cases, they define how carefully the cases must be read. We have established the frame. Now, the cases. The Greece Mission Report. Document ID DOW-UAP-D33. October 25th, 2023. Declassified. January 22nd, 2026. A U.S. military operator filed this report on October 27th, 2023. At approximately 0035 Zulu, this is the report's UAP description. In the operator's own words, 90-degree turns at 80 miles per hour. That is not a description of sensor malfunction. The report was reviewed, declassified, released through the official Pursue program. It carries no AARO analytical resolution. It remains officially unresolved. Now, the most significant document in the entire archive. It was filed with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The author describes themselves as a currently serving senior U.S. intelligence officer. The mission: investigate loud thuds on a military test range. Investigate UAP sightings from prior nights. What followed, in the officer's words, was a series of close UAP encounters lasting over an hour. An object described as super hot on FLIR, low to the ground, moving at high speed. Then it split into 2. At 700 feet above the ground, the officer describes what he observed directly. Then, the orbs appeared to follow the fighter jets that had been scrambled to the area. The officer's final words in the document: "We were virtually speechless after these observations." This document is from 2025, filed with the ODNI, released through the official Pursue program. It is officially unresolved. Now the nuclear facility pattern. 3 separate installations, 3 separate decades, 1 unremarked pattern. Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the FBI's 62-HQ-83894 case file. Photographic evidence of sightings, 1947 to 1968. Sandia Base, New Mexico, the nation's primary nuclear weapons assembly and testing installation. 209 UAP sightings near Sandia Base in 2 years, documented in 116 pages. The sightings were persistent enough that the Air Force launched a specific investigation program. Pantex, Amarillo, Texas. The United States primary nuclear weapons assembly and disassembly facility. 3 nuclear facilities, 3 independent sets of records, now in the same archive. Now the one moment in the archive where a physical object was recovered. On February 12, 2023, a US Air National Guard F-16C engaged an unidentified object over Lake Huron. The object was described as octagonal or balloon-like. Recovering debris was confirmed. Physical debris was recovered from the water. The only physical sample in the entire 82-year archive. No debris analysis has been released. No material composition report. No origin assessment. This is what the archive contains that is genuinely unresolved and evidentially sound. Cases that survived verification. The Greece report, the ODNI account, the Sandia pattern, the Lake Huron debris gap. Cases that required correction. The Syria instant acceleration video. The title was The Uploaders, not AAROs. Cases that were previously public. The Apollo mission photographs. The Gemini 7 transcript was also already public, but reading it in full context changes something. Frank Borman, December 1965. He distinguished the bogey from the rocket booster, from the debris, explicitly. The transcript was classified for 61 years. The explanation at the time? Mission hardware. If the bogey was mission hardware, why was the tape classified for 61 years? The question we opened with: what does the structure of this release reveal about what the government actually knows? Here is what the archive can establish, and here is what it cannot. What the archive establishes: the NSA tracked UAP through signals intelligence at the highest classification level. What the archive establishes: a physical object was engaged over Lake Huron. Debris was recovered. No analysis has been released. What the archive establishes: a senior U.S. intelligence officer filed a 2025 encounter report with the ODNI that remains unresolved. What the archive cannot establish: what the NSA signals data actually contained. The records are still redacted. What the archive cannot establish: what the Lake Huron debris was made of or where it came from. What the archive cannot establish: why the 1974 to 1984 and 2005 to 2012 periods are absent. What the archive cannot establish: whether the unresolved cases have a conventional explanation that has not been found yet. The official position says, unresolved because the data is insufficient to identify. The archive shows both. Some cases appear genuinely investigated. Others appear never fully examined. The word unresolved does different work in each case. The archive does not make that distinction. That is the deepest problem the archive reveals. Not what was found, how it was categorized. 3 conclusions the archive supports, each one precise. One conclusion the archive does not support: any specific identification of what the unresolved cases represent. What the evidence would require to close the open cases. The NSA content behind the redactions. None of those investigations have been completed. None of that evidence has been released. The Pursue files. Archive status: contested. The investigation continues.